Hi again, this is Adam King here with our final module for course EDL 850. And this one we examine a case study on internet use violations. For this study, we take place at a hypothetical high school named Slattery Steno. It's an affluent community in a rather large city. Most of the families are quite wealthy and have influential careers. It's considered the most prestigious school in the state. The students are particularly competitive when regarding their GPAs, and they have access to all the latest fashions, gadgets, and newest technology. A couple of the key players in our story are the principal, Dr. Harvey Smith. He's very well respected. He's in his ninth year as the principal at Slattery Steno. He's been named the principal of the year, and it states that he hires only the most qualified applicants for his vacant teaching positions. The teacher in question throughout this study is Miss Robin Tate. She's beginning her second year at the school. She is single. She does have a master's degree and teaches some very specialized science courses. She's a very serious and demanding instructor, and she definitely focuses on the academic side over developing relationships with her students. Both students and parents have complained regarding very high levels of stress received with her coursework. As far as the problem and what we know is that in Miss Tate's second year, she receives a suspicious email that asks her to view a website that contains a personal message. This personal message includes some very critical and offensive language talking about her personal and professional life. The message concludes with the line, "Who wants Miss Tate to disappear?" After reading this message, the teacher, Miss Tate, immediately contacts her principal, Dr. Harvey Smith. Dr. Harvey Smith, he asked to view the message, which Ms. Tate forwards on to him. After reading this message, Dr. Smith, I'm sorry, attempts to calm down Ms. Tate, and he inquires about maybe some potential perpetrators of the email or the website. Ms. Tate immediately jumps to conclusions that it might be a William Hall could be the leading suspect. And once again, Smith attempts to keep Miss Tate calm and assures her that it's probably nothing more than a prank. He does continue that they will speak with William and his classmates in the morning, and he will also contact the district technology team to see if they can find out the origin of the message. Some of the things that we need to know, well, it'd be nice to actually see the email and see exactly what it said. I'd also be curious at some of the previous correspondence between the parents and students concerning Miss Tate's class. As an administrator, I'd like to observe her in her classroom and see her coursework as well as how she interacts with her students on a regular basis. And then I'd also want to know if there'd ever been a prior history of instances where teachers were receiving threatening emails from students in the past. Some of the measures that have been taken to improve Ms. Tate's rapport with the students and the parents, I'd be curious in knowing how well that those have been followed through, as several suggestions had been offered to Ms. Tate, according to the reading. When we think of the problem, we definitely know that a suspicious email was sent that had a threatening online message. We also know that there's not the greatest of relationships between Ms. Tate and her students and the parents regarding her educational practices. We do know that there's been some recommendations regarding her methods, and most of these have not really been implemented. And lastly, we kind of know that parents and students both fear that earning a poor score in Miss Tate's class will harm their GPA and hence their college prospects. As far as my plan of action, I would continue to meet with Miss Tate in the IT department in the morning as planned, gather as much information as possible, and make sure Miss Tate feels safe and valued. I'd meet with all the students who may have information, including the William Hall, who she thought was one of the leading suspects. If we can't amicably resolve this, we're going to contact authorities and appropriate district level administrators, as this could be considered a death threat. Strategies that I would take is first off, not make any accusations, but continue to gather as much information as I can. I'd err on the side of caution. That last line could be interpreted in a variety of ways. To simply say we'd like her to disappear could just be hoping she'd move to a different school, something like that. I would make sure not to detain or confine any students for an unreasonable time frame as we were inquiring and gathering evidence on this issue. I would certainly maintain the integrity and seriousness of this offense just based on the threatening and vulgar language that was included. and probably most importantly, just make sure I'm providing support both professionally and emotionally for the teacher, Miss Tate. As far as what's best for students, regardless of any situation that arises, student success is why we're in this profession, and it has to be our primary concern. We must continue to establish and maintain that safe and secure school environment. And depending on the findings, definitely some disciplinary action is going to be taking place for the student or students involved. As far as concerning Miss Tate, we want to continue to train her and evaluate her and provide support so she can become the best teacher possible. And this probably carries over to the entire staff and continue to focus on those best practices. As far as when we're thinking of the coursework and the demands that we place on our students, maintain some sort of perspective. Realizing at most schools, students might have 6 or 7 classes that they're taking. If every one of those teachers is assigning, say, an hour of homework, that's 6 or 7 hours of homework every night. Most students have extracurricular activities. They help out at the homes, deal with brothers and sisters, maybe even have some after-school jobs. And I think having a perspective of understanding what the students are going through, and that the one single course that you teach is not the only thing that they're having to deal with. And then, of course, regarding the technology use, we need to make sure we educate our students on the expectations and consequences of irresponsible internet usage. Some of the supporting facts to resolve this issue is definitely making sure that our students understand the seriousness of their online actions. Basically, it states that almost all the students have access to technology. They need to be aware of the different dangers that are out there if they continue to use that in an inappropriate manner. Miss Tate, she obviously needs a little bit more support and training so she can continue to improve and evolve as an educator. And maybe a good outlet for her demanding nature would be to invoke some sort of science themed club where she could really get those students who have a true passion for those different topics an outlet and allow her to really focus on those and maybe relax a little bit on some of her demands inside the classroom. And then, of course, our entire staff, students, and all the parents need to be aware, once again, of that unacceptable online usage. As far as we go through this and we reflect back on how we're thinking, feeling, and valuing, I could think about how this very easily could have happened at the school that I currently teach at. And it actually did happen with a student and teacher last year. And it kind of made me have to think, how would I handle this situation? As this would definitely be an immense challenge, regardless if you're looking at it from a teacher standpoint or from an administrative standpoint. I was definitely feeling sad for any teachers who have gone through this similar scenario, and reflecting back to one of our foreign language teachers who did have some very offensive websites and social media posts directed at her. And it's also disappointing in how we have so much unbelievable technology, yet so much of it is being utilized in manners that are just counterproductive for society. I did value a lot of the relationships that I've built with students over the years and their families, and I think that's a very important thing. And then I also valued that all the support my friends, family, and colleagues would have if I was placed into a situation such as this. There are certainly some unresolved issues. I would really like to know what the eventual outcome was of this particular case. Was the school able to identify the creator of the email and the website? What was the punishment that was dealt out? Did Ms. Tate continue in her previous methods, or was she able to adjust and become a better teacher as a result of it? I was also interested to know how this news was shared with the staff, the students, and the overall community, and what policies were enforced or put into place as a result of this incident. As far as promoting student success with a focus on integrity, my investigation would be very thorough. I'd adhere to all the different established policies and procedures by the Board of Education and any legislation that's out there. I'd follow the proper channels, and I would definitely would want to make sure that I'm showing compassion to Miss Tate, as she is definitely the victim, and it can also be used as an opportunity for her to grow and hopefully develop those stronger relationships with her students and the students' parents. And then lastly, I want to make sure that I'm remaining open and honest in all communication, but not disclosing any information without it prior consent. When looking at a fairness standpoint, I'm definitely not going to jump to conclusions or make any unfounded accusations. I want to gather all the evidence before passing any type of judgment. Notify all the appropriate parties, whether this involves the authorities or parents and students or the entire staff. And if this instance ever happens again, we have to maintain a consistent stance on it and enforce our punishments in accordance with the board policy and make sure that they are consistent. I also need to make sure to acknowledge Miss Tate's role and use it as a teachable moment for her so she continue to enhance her professional credibility. From an ethical standpoint, I'm going to make sure to maintain privacy while adhering to all the different policies and procedures. This is an opportunity to educate everybody, not to just pass blame on a few. And I think so often that we focus on kind of what was the punishment that we forget, well, this is also an opportunity where we can teach others about ways to prevent this from happening in the future. I would also make sure to disclose the appropriate information, even if it is damaging to the school reputation. You have to be able to be upfront and honest and not try to hide or cover up anything that, even if it does have a negative connotation. And then after the action has been decided upon and the punishments have been dealt out, continue to follow up on it, not just kind of sweep it under the rug and move on, but continue to provide support not only to Ms. Tate, but also any students and parents that were affected by this as the educational process is continual and always ongoing. So in conclusion, I thought this was a very realistic scenario. It definitely had us thinking like administrators. It was sad to think of the situation having occurred in the building in which I'm currently teaching. I did enjoy the step-by-step analysis of the case and being able to kind of look at it from some different perspectives. And really the entire course, although it was very fast-paced and very demanding, it was extremely relevant. And I greatly appreciate the variety of different methods in which we were allowed to explore these different topics of school law and the wonderful timely feedback and constant communication from our instructor. So I am very appreciative of all the hard work you put in making really a beneficial and informative course. So I appreciate your time for watching. I appreciate this course very much, and I hope everyone has a wonderful remainder of their summer and a great start to the next school year. Thanks again.